What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the breakdown here. So, I want to talk about I'm probably late to the party, but I want to talk about the Triple G and David Lemieux pay-per-view buys. And what to me, let's just break this down. 150,000 pay-per-view buys or less is what they're saying. There's some reports saying it was 97,000, 125,000, but let's just go with 150. To me, that is a flop. Is a flop based off of the hype. Now I know that Lemieux and Golovkin made about $2 or $3 million, and they had a $9 million gate or something like that. They sold out MSG. So, from the standpoint of the promoters and everything, it was a success because they weren't paying the fighters much. I mean, they could have paid these guys the same amount of money. They basically could have paid these guys $2 or $3 million to fight on regular HBO and not have it on pay-per-view. But basically, the promoting companies would not have made nearly as much money. But overall, this was a flop. They try to use the Chicago Cubs and the New York Mets excuse, but I don't believe that game was still on by the time Golovkin and Lemieux actually got in the ring, because they got in the ring at about 11:20, 11:30 Eastern time, and that baseball game started at about 7:30 Eastern time, unless the baseball game went 4 hours. Somebody can correct me on that. But this thing was a flop. I mean, they were saying. I mean, if you go back and look at message boards across everything, people were predicting that it was going to get 300,000, 400,000. People were kind of predicting this, this thing to go into that range. And, you listen to Golovkin's team and they say, we were hoping for 200,000, but this right here met expectations. Of course they're going to say that. They're going to say that because they don't want to sound like they were disappointed. But overall, this was it was a flop, because based off of the hype that Golovkin gets, I mean, people say he's the most exciting guy. He's the face of boxing now that Mayweather is retired, and his fight does 150,000. Now, granted, it was his first fight, but I mean, come on, like Canelo Alvarez when he fought Angulo. I mean, yeah, Angulo is a little bit more known than the guy you see on the right of your screen. But I mean, Angulo didn't sell none of those pay-per-views. So I mean, even when Pacquiao fought Chris Algieri, now Pacquiao is an established pay-per-view guy. That right there still did 300,000. Floyd Mayweather's fight versus Berto did 550,000, and you guys were basically clowning that fight. So basically, did this fight not do well because people are tired of, because people have had it with the pay-per-views after Mayweather and Pacquiao? Or was this fight just a flop? You've heard my opinion. The fight to me was just an overall flop. It was on pay-per-view numbers. It was a flop. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Based off of the hype, does the hype match the numbers? That's all you have to ask yourself. Does the hype on Golovkin match the numbers? I could see if Golovkin had no hype behind him at all, then he gets 150,000. That would be great with no hype. But the way this fight was promoted, the hype behind Golovkin being the face of boxing, does all that match the numbers? And when you ask yourself all of that, you have to say no. So which leads me to my next question to close out this video. How many pay-per-view buys, and I'll probably make an entire video on it. Well, I'm not even going to do it, but I'll catch my next video. How many pay-per-view buys does Canelo and Cotto get? I'm not going to give you my answer now. I'll make a whole nother video on that leading into it. But my opinion, this fight, pay-per-view wise, it was a flop. So I'm out. Tell me what you think. Do you think it was a success? Do you think it was a flop? Or do you think it was just mediocre? I'm out.